Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble and reverential salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. It gives me another big pleasure to bring to you the next episode of his story through the eyes of his boys. Our journey in narrating his story and reliving those golden moments have reached primary school level. And today I'm very happy to have another set of brothers from first batch of primary school who would share with us that era. So as we start, let us start with our prayer. Please join me in that. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Dear brothers and sisters, I have 4 brothers today who are from the inception of primary school times, and I have the pleasure of introducing you. So let me bring out and invite them one by one to our session. Brother GSV Prasad, Brother Prasad, welcome to the program. We have Vikram Chauhan, we have Raghu, and we have Brother Amitabh Das Gupta.
Saram.
Brothers, welcome and thank you for joining me. And we are looking forward to hearing the stories of our master and of that era. So let me have the pleasure of introducing you all quickly for the benefit of our viewers. Brother Vikram Chauhan, he is presently based in Bhiwadi, Rajasthan, for India. And he joined primary school when it just started in 1980. The first batch, which I'm sure they'll talk about it, the 108 boys. And he went on to do his graduation and he did his BSc honors in chemistry. And he studied in both the campuses of Prashanti Nilayam and Vrindavan. And then he went on to do automotive manufacturing industry. He remained in the industry for 21 years. And then he started his own company as a freelancer automotive supplier. And he has been doing that ever since. So welcome, Vikram, brother.
Thank you, brother. Sai Ram.
Brother Raghavendra, he's joined Prashanti again in 1980, and he did his primary school, higher secondary, and then he finished his MBA from Prashanti Nilayam. And presently he's at senior vice president and head of commercial bank, South India, RBL Bank. So we are very happy to have him also. Brother Raghavendra, thank you very much. And we have Amitabh Das Gupta. Brother Amitabh is presently based in Melbourne, Australia. He also started from the first grade to 12th in Prashanti in 1982, and then went on to do his master's in business administration, MBA, from Prashanti Nilayam. He later on had few years of stint as working in the mandir also. I'm sure that, his pull is stronger. He did not feel like leaving immediately. And presently he's a director in KPMG in Australia. and he settled more or less in that side of the world. So, welcome, Brother Amitabh.
Sharon, brother.
And all of you, I really feel so happy to have you all. So, to start with, may I ask each one to say a few words of introduction and tell us how did Bhagwan rope you all in? So, let me start with Brother Vikram. Brother Vikram Chauhan,
Yes.
few words from your side of how Bhagwan came into your life or your
Yes.
family's life, so to say.
Yes. Our journey into Swami's fold started way back in 1978. Captain
Sorry.
serving in the army, and he was posted at in a town named Payanur in Kerala. And my mother also happened to teach in a college there. And one fine day, it so happened my mother saw a photo of Baba on the desk of her colleague. And on inquiring who it was, she said he's an avatar of Baba. He's an avatar of God, and he stays in Puttaparthi. And along with that introduction, she also gave my mother a book, The Man of Miracles, to read. And my mother got the book home, and my father, out of curiosity, began reading the book. And while reading the book, he learned how Swami materialized Vibhuti, and that made him recollect that sometime back he had been given a packet of Vibhuti by his elder brother, who too was an army officer. And my father's elder brother had told him about Swami, and he had given a packet of Vibhuti to keep as a protection in his identity card. So on searching his identity card, he found that the Vibhuti packet was missing. So in his mind, he thought, if Baba is God, then this Vibhuti packet should be replaced as soon as possible. And to his surprise, the very next day, my mother's colleague took our parents to a devotee's house where Vibhuti was materialized from the photographs. And my father got a packet of Vibhuti as a prasad from the devotee. So it was a surprise to him, it was the first surprise. And a few weeks later, he got a dream in which Baba was there standing in front of him. He was wearing a white robe, and he was holding up my father's palm, and like a palmist, he counted out the uh, problems that my father had at that time in life, personal problems, professional problems. And then he said, okay, you surrender to me and I'll look after your problems. So my father and my parents discussed this dream with the Sai devotee, and they said, oh, Baba's dreams are true, and you should go to Puttaparthi. So that's how my parents planned a trip to Puttaparthi. And again, to my father's surprise, they landed at Puttaparthi on the Dasera Day celebrations. It was the Dashera, and in the evening, again, my father had the darshan of Swami, and Swami was wearing the same white robe that he had seen in his dream. So it was quite an eye-opener for them. So that's how we got to go to Puttaparthi.
Excellent. So he entered your family through a dream.
Yes.
And you took it upon yourself. Excellent. I'm sure we are looking forward to hearing more from you, Vikram. So
Yes.
thanks. Sorry, Vara, I forgot to introduce you properly. So Brother Vara Prasad, he is also from the first batch in 1980. He started his schooling at third grade in the primary school, and then went on to do his further studies there. And he is presently in Mumbai, and he's an oral and a maxillofacial surgeon. Maxillofacial surgeon, right? Am I pronouncing it right?
Perfect. Yeah.
And he's doing his private practice. He's a consultant. So thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to hearing more stories. So please say a few words of introduction from your side.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to join Puttaparthi Primary School when it first started in 1981, and I studied up to standard 12 there. And then when I decided to study medicine, I left the school to join the medical college, the dental college actually. So did my BDS and then completed my MDS in Mumbai. And then ever since I've been in Mumbai working.
So how did Bhagwan come into your families? How did he introduce himself to you?
actually, when my dad was a believer first, not my mother, and he had taken my mother along in 1971 during Dashara, and there when they had gone there, my mother lost her purse. Actually, it was stolen in the night sometime, or God knows when, and then
In
she
Patti?
was in Perth. Yeah, they were under the tree. Then there was a neem tree where everybody would be, sleeping, and there were no sheds and all at that time. So she was there, and I mean they were there. And then the money bag got lost, and then my mother was obviously upset because anyway she was not a believer first. And then to make it short, she heard from someone that Swami had sent word that the purse would be, somebody has come from far away, and the purse would be, found in the next 12 hours. So my mother heard that and she said, "Yeah, it's me. It's me. I mean, it's my purse." So, and then, I mean, it so happened that as the day passed by, the purse was found in one of the dhobis, it was hanging there, and the purse was found, and the money was lost. There was no money in that. Then my mother thought, like, if he's really God, then I should get the money as well. Then in a half an hour's time, a lady came there. And the police came along with the lady, and they said that she's the one who has taken the money. Actually, she's a kleptomaniac, and so and so she has taken the money. But she, the lady kept on refusing that she had taken the money. But finally, God knows what came over her, and she finally said, "Okay, I'll give you the money." And she took it out from her, and she gave the whole money back. And then my mother was stunned. It was exactly 12 hours after what she heard that the money would be got back, and that's when she felt that yes, there is something here. Somebody knows something about the future, and that's when she started believing. And then what they wanted to spend about a week or 10 days during Dashara, and they landed up spending about a whole month there, and then the journey started there. That's how Swami came into our my mother's life, though my father was a believer from very before.
I believe your dad was followers of Shirdi Baba before, right?
Yes, my dad used to attend prayer sessions. My dad and my grandfather also, they used to attend prayer sessions of Shirdi Baba when they were, when my dad was as a child as well. That's what he told me.
So Swami had to prepare your mother so that he could bring you inside.
Yeah, actually, we are lucky. I mean, it was destined that we would be devotees of Satya Sai Baba. So
True,
we were
absolutely.
lucky. It's our luck.
Excellent. We are looking forward to hearing more from you.
Sure.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I would request Brother Raghavendra. Raghu, he calls himself in short. Brother Raghu, so let us hear your story. How did Swami hook you all?
Sairam. So my father completed his chartered accountancy, and he started his practice in a place called Hindupur, which is quite near Puttaparthi. He had come to Hindupur in the 60s itself. Okay, and somewhere around 70s he heard about Bhagavan Baba and Puttaparthi. Being a place that is fairly close by, curiosity drove him. He went to Parthi, he had darshan, he bought a lot of books, including the Satyam Shivam Sundaram, the book written by Raghavendra Atyam, Baba and me.
Baba
And
and I,
he became a devotee by reading books and having darshan. Okay, he used to visit Parthi quite frequently. At that time, Shri Kutumbarao Garu was the secretary of the mandir, and the ashram administration was growing in size. There was the Bhakta Sahayak Sangh that was set up, which was to run the canteen primarily and a small stores department. They needed an auditor for the same, and Mr. Kutumbarao Garu was one day speaking to an income tax official, who had come to visit Parthi, and he said that he was looking for an auditor, a reliable person who can audit the books. Okay, my father, the income tax circle where he was working in was headquartered in Anantapur. He used to frequently go there on work, so people in the income tax office knew him. And this particular person, whom Kutumbarao Garu was speaking, had a favorable opinion. So that official recommended my father's name to Kutumbarao Garu, and so he gave the phone number also. So my father received a call from Kutumbarao Garu for a meeting, and when he went, the proposal was put to him saying that, would he like to be the auditor? So my father saw this as a heaven sent chance. He said, yes, of course, he would like to be the auditor to the Bhakta Sahayak Sangh. There was, no discussion about it. Then Mr. Kutumbarao Garu said that there will be a remuneration, and the discussion went to, discuss the remuneration. My
How
father
much you want?
Okay. My father absolutely refused to accept any remuneration for the job. Okay. And at that time, money did matter because, the situation at home was hand to mouth. Okay. So whatever money came did matter. So it was a measure of, his devotion and I guess Bhagwan's grace. He said, no remuneration. So Mr. Kutumbarao Garu tried persuading him, saying, look, everyone does work for Swami. That is separate. This is a professional work. Some remuneration can be accepted, but my father was adamant. Then Kutumbarao, he was using the word, I want only Swami's grace. I want only Swami's grace. Okay. So Mr. Kutumbarao Garu said that he will then need to check with Swami on that matter. Okay. And later on, we heard that from Kutumbarao Garu that, he went and reported that conversation. And Swami said, oh, he wants my grace only, is it? Fine, let it be so. So Swami gave his blessings and permission. And that's when the relationship grew. He became formally the auditor to Bhakta Sahayak Sangh. My father's trips to Parthi increased more frequently. I'm told that for the 50th birthday, I was taken there as a baby, though I have no memory of it. I was there, so I had the opportunity with the 50, 60, 70, and that's Swami's blessings, and that's how the family's association with Bhagwan began, and it grew.
Excellent. I know this is how different ways people are brought to Bhagwan. And just for the viewers to, if you don't know Mr. Kutumbarao Garu, whom Raghu is mentioning, he was the caretaker of Mandir, Prashanti Nilayam. And in those times till, I would say, I think till 80s, he was there. A very dedicated man, a highly devoted person, and so disciplined. He was an exemplary person to be, to watch and live. So just because you mentioned his name, I thought it would be nice to have a few words about him. So thank you, Raghu, for that small introduction, and look forward to hearing more from your side. So let me have the next Amitabh. Brother Amitabh, welcome. So let us hear your story.
Okay, Saram, Brother Abhimanyu, and Saram, everyone. For me, it was primarily my mother, and we are from Kolkata, and she had a very deep yearning for God and was searching for an equivalent of a Ramakrishna Paramahamsa or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all those saints in Calcutta. And in 1967, in her early 20s, for the first time, she saw a picture of Swami in my grandfather's puja room. And my grandfather at that point in time was a civil contractor at Vizag. And she just saw it, and my grandfather said, yeah, someone just gave it to me, and I just actually put it here. So nothing remarkable really happened. In 1968, my grandfather had some work around Puttaparthi, and he was very curious, and he went to Puttaparthi, saw the place, saw Swami, but again, nothing really happened. Then my mother got married, and in 1970, in Rajasthan, my father was a geologist with the government, and they were invited for a bhajan, and that was when she got hooked, and she immediately wanted a picture of Swami, and the person who was there in that house offered to give a picture, and my mother said, no, I want a picture and I will get it. If Swami wants to give me a picture, he will give it to me, and I want a direct experience. And so she looked around every nook and corner of the city, and she couldn't find it. She described Swami to everyone and said, no, sorry, we didn't really hear anything about this particular person. And then there was this last shop in that place. It was about to close, and the shutters were down. And she went and she said, "Okay, have you heard about this person? He's got this afro hair." And they said no. And as she was going out, then suddenly someone from top, the father of those. Or the owner of that particular shop came down from top and said, "Hey, I think I have one photo of Swami. I think it is this person. I don't know. Someone came and dropped it few days ago, and no one has come to really collect it. Maybe you can have it." And that was when my mother knew that, okay, this was the God who she was really, really looking for. And then it took around almost 10 years to really come to Puttaparthi. And after 10 years, in 1980, myself, my brother, and my parents actually visited Puttaparthi, and for the first time, we actually saw Swami.
So it took 10 years for everything to happen.
Correct, yes.
That's nice. So how was the, let me bring other people also, but you can start off. How did you make up your mind to become a student?
Okay, I think it was, I remember Swami in later years had told me that it's not because of your one life's work, it's your thousands of lives' work and karma that you are able to come to me. And my first experience was, I think, as I was around 4 years old, and I had not joined the primary then. And my father had taken me and my brother to the college building, which had just come up, and there was some sevadal for some sevadal duty, and we were cleaning the roads. And I picked up a broom. You can imagine a 4-year-old picking up a broom and trying to sweep as well. It was pretty fun. And suddenly there was this hush, and we saw Swami's car coming in, and everyone left the brooms and spades and really ran towards the car. And my father picked me up, and I unfortunately didn't leave the broom. I had the broom in my hand, and as soon as Swami's car came, I just shouted "Sai Ram," and suddenly Swami's car stopped. And I had this broom in my hand, and it was a very funny sight. That's what my parents say. And Swami's car stopped, and Swami pulled down his window pane, and he just gave this beautiful smile, and he just blessed me. And all the devotees around me they were very happy that Swami's car stopped for this little 4-year-old boy. And I think that was when I was really hooked, and I said, yeah, I wanted to study here. The primary school had sort of just come up, and I was really hooked. And also, my parents, we didn't have great English medium schools back then in Rajasthan. And my mother she had that full faith in Swami by then, the 10 years of rigorous, sadhana, that she wanted her children to be in a good spiritual environment. And that's where both myself and my brother, we came to Puttaparthi against the wishes of my grandparents. They really didn't like it, and my grandfather was like, how can you go to that place? I went there was nothing there in 1968, and you are sending my grandchildren there. So it was a massive leap of faith to really put your children there. So that's how we
Nice.
joined.
I believe Swami did your Aksharabhyas also, right?
Yes, I think that was one experience where those days there was just the sand and the birds chirping, and Swami just came. And yeah, I think I was 4, and Swami actually wrote that Om on the slate. So that's a very cherished memory.
Excellent. Nice. So Vikram, how about you? How did your parents decide to send you?
Yeah, basically my mother was very keen on me studying there in Baba school, and that's it. So that's how she, because that's what she told me, that that's a good school and it's a Sai Baba school, and it was her decision basically.
So she just made up her mind and you just followed it.
That's it.
Excellent. Yes. Very obedient. How about you, Vara?
Yeah, mine is a little longish story. You can stop me whenever, no problem. So, I mean, I have been blessed by Swami even before I was born. So I was telling the story when my parents first went to Puttaparthi. So can you hear me?
Yes. Carry on.
Yeah. So my mother was pregnant with me then when she had first gone to Puttaparthi. And after that incident of her getting the money back, she was very, keen on the Dashera celebrations, the discourses and all that. And, on the last day when Swami sprinkles the water from the yajna on everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So she was sitting there in the in the auditorium wherever the yajna was happening, and when Swami came, he took the water and he literally put so much on her that she became totally wet, with the water, and apparently Swami told her anta bagu avutundi, means everything will be fine. This is before I was born, and then I was born sometime in May. So yeah, that's the first part of the story. And then later on, when I was in standard 3 there, I mean I was studying elsewhere in Orissa. So one day I got a dream saying that I told my mom I got a dream. Swami came in a car along with Ishwaramma, and he took me to Puttaparthi. So my mom was like, nice dream. I mean, you got a very nice dream. So, there was an uncle of ours who knew some people from Puttaparthi. So she went, that evening, that was a Thursday, and on Thursday bhajans, we went there. And then she narrated this dream of mine to uncle. Uncle said, something very surprising. I just got 3 forms from the primary school for the primary school admissions, though you had asked for 2. And I just got them this morning. I thought I'll tell you in the bhajan time that this one was, the forms were available. So the forms came in, and my mother, took us to Puttaparthi because it was already late, for the form submission. We went there, and then they told us that the form submission dates are already over. So I saw people giving letters to Swami. So I asked my mom, "What is this? What is this letter?" She said, "Whatever your wishes are, if you write, if Swami takes them, your wishes will be fulfilled." So I said, "Okay." So in the letter I wrote, "Swami, I want to join your school," and I gave it. And then Swami came and took it. And then that evening, Swami announced. There was an announcement that all those children who came in late, their forms also will be accepted. So that's how our forms were accepted. And then once our forms were accepted, there was this one that there are no seats for standard 3, and my mom wanted me to join standard 3. So again I wrote a letter that I want to join standard 3. So apparently, and Swami took the letter from me, and then a day later we got the message that yes, now there are some seats available even in standard 3. So probably you can be considered for the admission process. And then there were formal interviews. Me, my brother, and my sister, we joined. We attended the interview, and then the list was out that about the admission, and then we 3 were selected in the school. And
It looks like all of you are very excited to join the campus. None of you are having any problem in getting separated from your parents. So Raghu, what about you? Are you having any, how was your smooth journey?
So, my father always gave tremendous amount of importance to education. And my relatives tell me that, my father used to talk of admitting me in Doon School and those kind of places. Okay. But then, he came to know Swami, as I mentioned, he became the auditor, and his mind turned to Swami's institutions. My 2 elder brothers had joined, the Swami's college. My eldest brother joined Brindavan in the late 70s, and my second brother also studied in Puttaparthi. Those 2 are already studying. And since, Shri Kutumbarao Garu was associated, my father knew that there was a school at Ooty. So the idea came into my father that, I should be admitted in Swami's school in Ooty instead of the Doon and those kind of things. His mind turns to Swami's school. So he broached the subject with Mr. Kutumbarao Garu during one of his associations, and he was advised that, Ooty is a very cold place. Hindupur is an extremely hot area. Okay. They were worried whether, I'll be able to cope up with the change in climate. And since Mr. Kutumbarao Garu was in the thick of the action in Parthi, he told my father that Swami is coming up with one more school in Parthi, and once it comes up, admission can be sought for me there. Okay, so right from the beginning, it was almost in my mind that Swami is coming up with a school in Parthi, and I'm joining there. My parents tell me that whenever Kutumara Garu came home with the files for the audit, I used to go and ask him, I believe, is the school ready? When can I come and join? So it seemed that it was all set, set by Bhagavan. So those conversations were happening, and finally the school did come. And I remember going and, giving an interview, and I got admission. And I joined, it all happened that, it was always the plan, to join primary school. So I just joined.
So all of you seem to be very excited to come and join the school. You all never had a problem of homesickness or missing your mom and dad and all that? None of you had this issue, or you were all very happy? Run.
Well, I remember the first few days. In fact, those memories are so fresh in my mind. There was a tremendous amount of excitement, of a massive building. There were so many people, and everything was new. There was a lot of excitement. Okay, and after 3-4 days, the novelty wore off, and then the homesickness kicked in.
Exactly.
Okay, and the way Swami used to keep us very busy. The schedule was very tight. Okay, and typically the homesickness would kick in the evening after the games are over. We would be getting ready for the bhajans and having a wash. So since there is little free time and idle mind is the devil's workshop, the homesickness would kick in. Many a times, that was a time when Swami would send chocolates, toffees, and toys to us. Okay, and very often they would be of the imported variety. So that used to send ripples of excitement across the dormitory. The teachers would come and distribute, and the homesickness would be put away. Okay, and again on Sundays, I remember
Swami had that doses for you all to take care.
So I think he had his remedies. Okay, and the other thing I clearly remember was the Sundays again when we had time on hand. Okay, the homesickness would kick in. And at that time, one child starts crying, it would be a domino effect. Okay, all the children in the dormitory would start crying. Okay, so if such a crying session happened, we would all be gathered into the prayer hall, and our warden auntie, as we very lovingly call her, Prem Bal. Okay, she would start bhajans. Okay, and in singing bhajans, we would forget the homesickness. So bhajans were one antidote to homesickness. That's how we overcame the first few weeks. And once we crossed the first few weeks home, everything was forgotten.
So Warden Auntie had found a way for you all. Great.
Yeah.
Vikram, what about your experience? You were saying something?
Yes, it's very similar to what Raghu brother just said. The atmosphere there was supercharged initially. I mean, there was so much of excitement and a lot of things being distributed, a lot of importance being showered on us by teachers and all. And yes, of course, whenever my parents would leave to the hometown, that was the time I felt homesick. And otherwise, generally, I mean, when I got in with the other children around, like we just got busy playing. And then, of course,
so when your parents handed over to you for the first day, how was that experience? Do you recall that? Do you have any memory of that?
Yes, I recall that. I think it was the hall just above the dining hall. Behind the stairs, there's the dormitory where we were all assembled with our parents. And the teacher, there were some bhajans that were held, and the teachers gave instructions to parents. And then we were quietly lined up to go to the dormitories, and parents were told to leave. So that's the first day's impression. And I remember when we went into the dormitories, we were issued with brand new mattresses. There was a smell of fresh paint all over. Everything was so brand new. We were given dresses. So there was so much of excitement. I mean, I literally forgot that my mother had left me and gone to the ashram.
So you never cried, eh? That's great.
Yeah, the first day I did not. But probably later on, a few days later, as Raghu brother said, when the excitement died down, then you suddenly realize that the parents have left.
So Vara, what about you?
Yeah, so I mean, two things which made me really feel at home. One is when I joined, my mother informed warden auntie that this boy is a devil at home. So warden auntie just heard and kept. So I was really notorious at home. So warden auntie knew how to handle it probably. So the day I joined, might be from the second day or the third day, she gave me enough responsibilities. I was in the third standard, the eldest among everybody. So warden auntie had given me so many responsibilities, taking care of the children, the school uniform, distributing the uniform, this, that I was really happy. I got importance. I got so much importance in the school. So I really wanted to be in school and never go home. That's one. Second was that uh, second was I noticed that in the school we were not allowed to take our books back to the hostel. Okay, the school books would remain in the school itself. So that was really something very nice. We didn't have any homework to do. Wow. I mean, so at that age when you don't have homework, what else you want? So I mean, that school suited me like the best. I mean, so I never felt homesick at all. And obviously, the love and care of warden auntie and the teachers then, Muni auntie, that is our headmistress auntie. That time she hadn't joined in standard 3. When I was in standard 3, she joined a little later. 6 months later, she came in. Warden auntie was there, and our principal was one Malik madam, Malikan. So they were, so loving. They started calling us by name from the very first day. And then, we really felt at home. And obviously the food was good and so many children around, so many friends, new friends to make. So, yeah, I never felt homesick. And obviously, Swami used to come to primary school every day. Every day he used to come to our school and spend some time with the children. So,
I'm sure when Swami enters, then it's different altogether. It's a different game.
Yeah, everything changed. Everything changed. The whole atmosphere would be electric when Swami would come, and he had so many other programs also to when he would come, like he would get some guest along, or on Wednesdays he used to get Kasturi uncle along, Professor Kasturi. He used to tell us stories.
You're the grand figure who would tell stories about Bhagwan.
Yeah. So it was on every Wednesday, and Swami would come along, with him, and we used to hear stories from Kasturi uncle, and then Swami telling something, some joke in between, make us laugh, like you tell something which we would all understand, like children, something related to childhood, and so it was amazing. Yeah, amazing fun.
So Amitabh, what about you?
Okay, for me it was a rubber hits the road moment. The excitement of really looking forward to Swami's school. I was super excited. That sort of slipped into the reality of missing your parents on day one. And I remember one instance where my mom took me, I think, after breakfast to really join the school. And I think we had, I think, Muni auntie, Warden auntie, and I think Prasuna ma'am who were sort of there. And I just started crying, and I said, no, I don't want to join. Okay. And they said, okay, get him back after lunch. So I actually went back, had lunch with my mom. I was really very happy, and came back again. And as I was about to join again, I started crying, and they were really very compassionate, right? And they said, okay, get him after dinner. And again, I went back and I was thinking, okay, I got a few more moments with my mother and my father. And after dinner, again, we went. And again, I started crying, and I didn't really want to go in. And I said, I want to sleep one more night with my parents, and I want to have dinner with them. And I don't know how the teachers there, I think especially Muni auntie, said, okay, go again. Tomorrow morning you should come, okay? And that night, I went back. I didn't have dinner in school. We were basically from north of India, so there was no North Indian canteen at that time, and so there was this a small restaurant along the way called Sai Krupa. We went and we had some North Indian food there, and after that, as soon as we entered the mandir premises, I had this massive pain in my stomach, and I couldn't really walk. And we were sort of passing Swami's mandir, and those days Swami used to live, I think, top stairs, and Swami's sort of light was on. It was around 8:39, and my mother just started praying to Swami. Swami, we don't know anyone. This is very early times. There was no super specialty hospital, no ambulances. General hospital was just small place, and she just prayed out to Swami. Swami, where am I? And I've got these kids against the entire relatives and family, and you need to give us a doctor. And I could barely walk, and I just sat down. My father had to lift me up, and as we were going, there were two people who were sort of following us, and I just sat down, and they came and asked what happened, and my father said, no, something has gone wrong with his tummy. And the guy said, don't worry, I'm a doctor and I'm from London. And I just dropped my nephews in primary school, and my mother was like, oh my God, the full universe is orchestrating to really help this child join Puttaparthi. And then they asked, okay, where do you stay? And we said, in round block 3. And they said, oh, we stayed there as well. And they were, I think, on the 3rd floor, and we were on the 2nd floor. Then the doctor carried me, and he went to his place, and he got an injection and immediately gave an injection. And I was fine. I slept like a baby. And next morning, we actually went for darshan. And I was, I think, 5 or something, and Swami finished his darshan. And those days it was the sand. And as Swami passed by, I just vomited everything, whatever I had. And it was a very symbolic thing. My parents really take it as it was like the birthing process, right? You get all the pains and everything really comes out, and finally you sort of give birth to something fantastic which is going to unfold in your life, of Swami entering your life. And my parents tell me after that, I think the crying never happened, or very, very rare. And I was really excited to really join. And like all the other brothers said, the environment, the teachers, Kasturi uncle and Swami, is just fascinating. And I really love every moment of it.
Since it has been so many years you've gone by, but I'm sure that institution is still in front of your eyes right now. So if I ask you all, for the benefit of the viewers, can you picturize, sketch it for us together? Anybody can start telling us, so that we can walk through the primary school with you and see how you spend your childhood.
Okay. So
take us on a virtual tour, imaginary virtual tour, and give us an environment. What kind of environment Bhagavan had created, what is called as a primary school?
Yeah, so should I start? I mean, I can tell you.
Start, and I'm sure Raghu and other people will join you. So go on.
Please carry on.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So you see I mean, I can tell you some small things about I don't know about the secrets, but something about the primary school itself, how it was all made for children, it's really made for children. So the primary school foyer, what we call the foyer, there on top, there are some quotations written there. If you notice, if you've gone, these quotations on top. Can you see those quotations on top? So, yes. So there's a story behind these quotations. So when this was to be made, there was one artist who was a lady artist who was allotted to do these quotations. And I was, I was pretty much with auntie always, warden auntie. And then, when she wanted to paint this, auntie told me, like, what quotations have to be written here. So some of the quotations which are there, I proposed these quotations, and the auntie had painted these, the artist had painted these quotations, and till date the same quotations are being repainted without rubbing them off. They're just overwritten. They are the same from the last from when I joined 1981 till now, till recently when I went, the quotations are the same, and whenever they repaint the school, the quotations are just repainted, but they are not rubbed off. The quotations are the same.
So what is the reason for that?
See, they wanted to preserve our childhood. When we go to school, I still remember, that when I see those quotations, I still remember the same day when those quotations were just painted. So it all feels like, the time has been just compressed into one particular day. So once you rub them off and you put new quotations, and when you go there, you don't tend to recognize. But every child who goes to the school will recognize those quotations and the same color combinations, everything, and the childhood would come back again to them. So you can imagine, like, a small things have been taken to considerations when they have made the school, and how they have arranged everything so that we remember our childhood even when 40 years later after coming out of the school. So that's one.
Nice. Others can please join in. Don't have to
Yeah,
wait.
One of the
yeah.
amazing
Yeah,
things about primary school was, as Vara was mentioning, that everybody was involved in everything. Okay, so they did not say, hey, you are a bacha, what do you know? I'll add a small example. For some reason, I seem to know a little bit more English and Telugu than others. So, Munni auntie used to call me translator. Okay. And she didn't know that much of Telugu in the beginning, though she's picked up so much of Telugu, it's better than mine. Okay. And when Munni auntie had to give instructions to all of us, I was called as a translator, and Munni auntie would speak in English, and I would translate into Telugu for the rest of the crowd. There were, of course, teachers there, who knew both Telugu and English. Munni auntie could have very well relied on the teachers. But that was the sense of responsibility and leadership being given to children very early on. So we felt involved in the administration. We were part of the process. We were not very distant, from anybody else. So that's, one way that helped us settle in. And as Vara and others said, the atmosphere used to be really electrified when Swami used to come. And in the first 1-2 years, and I think we had a lot of visits, and Swami would come absolutely at any time. I have one striking memory when classes were going on. Swami had come. This was in the very beginning, I think the first month itself, and he went from class to class. And when he came to the third class, we were the biggest. He asked one of the boys to move aside or move in, and he came in and sat in on the bench with us, facing the teacher. Okay, I don't know how his frame fitted in, but it fitted in, and he sat in the bench. All the teachers, assembled into the classroom, and in front of all the boys, he was asking about each and every aspect of the school. How was the food? Are they facing any problems? It was virtually, he took the interview of the teachers in front of us. And only after he was satisfied that all was well, he left the school premises. I don't think any one of us could comprehend that Swami is divine. He's an avatar. It's, at that age, I think every one of us was in first, second, and third class. But that was his aura. When he was around, everybody's attention would be riveted towards him. We all would cognize that he's something very special, and we would be extremely elated about it. So those were things that helped us settle into a hostel. None of us were in hostel before. So the responsibilities, Bhagwan, a new lifestyle, so many. And so we had several classmates from all over India, and that was the beauty of it all. Our boundaries just exploded.
I have a very interesting incident regarding Swami attending classes. Can I share it? I would want to share it.
Sure.
Yeah. So, like Raghu said, Swami used to just, he used to come every day to the school when we were in standard 3. That was when the school first opened in 1981. So, he used to come and sit in the class when the teachers used to teach, and he used to sit with one of us. So, this was a little later, after the school opened. And then one day he came and sat next to me. And when he was sitting next to me, and the classes were on. and the teacher was teaching. Obviously, Swami told you should continue teaching, no disturbance. So the teacher was teaching, and then I was writing something in the book, and then Swami would want to peep into my book, and I would nudge Swami. Can you imagine? I used to nudge Swami like, "Don't peep into my book," and Swami would again try, and this went on for 1 or 2 minutes. I used to nudge Swami, and Swami would try to peep. I used to nudge him back again. He used to nudge me back again. So after 2-3 minutes, then Swami said he said one sentence which made me his friend. So he said Satya, friend. So I'll tell you what happened. So he meant he's Satya Sai Baba. So Satya, my name is Satyavara Prasad, Satya, and friend. So for people, who studied there, you would all recollect that there was this one song called "Love is my form, truth is my breath, bliss is my food." That is one song which we used to. So what I would do was I used to sing, "Love is my form, truth is my friend, bliss is my food." So I used to misunderstand that truth is my breath too, and I used to sing it as friend. So when Swami, he never, I don't know how he knew about this. Obviously, now I know, and then I came to know later he knows everything. So he meant that, love is my form, truth is my friend. So that was one secret which only I knew, that truth is my friend. So he meant, I am truth is my friend, you are my friend. And that's when I felt that, he is my friend, and then I showed him my notebook. So, he became a child amongst children. And that's
excellent. Vikram, you were saying something, yeah? Join.
Yeah. Just recollecting those days and thinking of our teachers and the staff in primary school, those early days. I remember right from waking us up in the morning, and in the early days giving us bath, getting us ready for school, applying oil on our hair, combing our hair, serving breakfast, getting us ready for school. The same teachers then doubled up as teachers in classrooms. So I don't think so we've got anything like this anywhere in the world, where you have the same set of people who wake you up and then get you dressed up as mothers, and then they double up as teachers and start teaching you during the daytime. So this is
phenomenal.
I think on the teachers, we do need to elaborate. Okay, it's very important. The early days, we did not have very many domestic staff. Okay, and Munni auntie, she was a teacher, and even when she became the principal, she used to come and sweep the dormitories. Okay, and we boys were involved in lifting the beds. Okay, and after sweeping the dormitory, she would give bath to the smaller children. Okay, and I have been given bath by Munni auntie. Okay, and as Vikram said, then thereafter they would serve breakfast to us, and then she would become the principal at 9 o'clock when the school started, and a teacher. And in the evening she would put us to bed, and they were with us 24 by 7. And one of my classmates, his name is Saikar, and he's also a cardiologist. Till date, Munni auntie narrates, we had a lot of mosquitoes then, that Munni auntie used to sleep with us in the dormitory. Okay, so I believe one night he was being bitten by so many mosquitoes, he went and woke her up saying, "Auntie, mosquitoes are biting me." Okay, so in the middle of the night she woke up, she got odomas, she rubbed it on him, and made him sleep to him, for some time, and then put him to bed and went back to her desk. So virtually 24 by 7, from the bath to being put to sleep and the academic session, we were so we never felt the anything was missing. We never felt any absence of any parent. Everything was, well, of course Swami was there, but the way his love flowed to us through his teachers and those selected angels, that made a very deep impression on us.
Absolutely. I think if I may add, there was the teachers, they were not career teachers, right? Their focus was not really on themselves, and the focus was all for Swami and actually all of us, and the dedication of all the teachers was just phenomenal. One thing I vividly remember as in the primary school was how the students were allocated across the 4 houses representing the 4 values of Swami: Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema. And it was so intertwined with our day-to-day activities, that we competed against each other along with this particular construct, and this sort of became like a chip in our head. And back then you didn't really realize how this was impacting us subconsciously, but then when we sort of grew up, we understood that subconsciously it sort of influenced your life in a massive way. And I've seen so many students from primary school, Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema. Satya was like, oh, that at the moment they think Satya means, okay, it's truth. It's like you are God, and the self-confidence comes with that particular saying that you're God. And Dharma, the remembrance and the duty that you remember that you're God, and the equanimity with Shanti and peace, you sort of lead from love. All those values subconsciously sort of get inside you, and then slowly as you grow, everyone sort of blooms in their own pace. It was like a beautiful garden where people are just all the teachers were like gardeners for us to just make us bloom. So it was a very, very great memory.
It's interesting to hear that. I would like the viewers to understand that your naming ceremony is very different here. So the in charge for the kitchen was kitchen auntie, and it's warden auntie. So please tell us about that.
Yeah, so Indu auntie, who was in charge of the food in the in our hostel canteen, she was called kitchen auntie. Okay, and warden auntie was she was a warden. So you're asking about that, Abhi? I just missed that. Yeah, and Muni auntie. I mean, for a lot of time, I mean, we actually never knew her real name, Muni Kaul. We used to know her as Headmistress auntie. So much so that even our parents also address them as Headmistress auntie, Muni and warden auntie. Yeah, warden auntie and kitchen auntie. So these three names were like, even now people still talk as Headmistress auntie and kitchen auntie, not by their names. So it stuck as what job they do. So
as Vara mentioned, till we went to higher secondary school, we didn't know that warden auntie's name was Prem Bal and kitchen auntie's name was Indu Madam.
So, yes. And in fact, if somebody told me their actual names, I wouldn't. It would take some time to register. If somebody would say warden auntie, immediately it would.
So, as you said, Raghu, you are mentioning that they were involving you all into activities. Did you all have any say in what kind of food you want to eat, or what activities you want to do, or something like that?
So I think that was one, challenge. The food menu was determined by Bhagwan. Okay, it was set.
Okay. So it's not a challenge. It was very good.
That we came to know a little later on. In fact, recently when we went to primary school, Munni auntie told us that the menu was determined entirely by Bhagwan. Okay, we were exposed to very novel food items. We used to get porridge in the morning. Okay, and I don't think any South Indian, or for that matter, perhaps Indians, were used to porridge. Okay, so we had to take porridge. And one meal was rasam, which of course most South Indians ate rasam at home. And third was dal, okay, the plain dal. First and foremost, we are used to eating very spicy food, and dal was so bland that we had enormous challenge, eating it. And Swami made it particular that we all should eat sprouts. We were given green sprouted grams, sprouted groundnuts. Okay, those were coming at instructions of Swami. Okay, not many children, like to eat it, but auntie, teachers could be very loving, but when it come to discipline, because they knew that, it had come from Swami, we had to finish the food on the plate. Okay.
Yep.
And we had duties. Some of us would serve food in the dining hall. And one boy's, responsibility was to stand at the place where the plates are left and wash your hand. Okay. And he's the control. If you're walking towards there with food on your plate, he won't allow you in. Okay. You have to go back. Okay. Only after you finish your food can you go and wash your hand. So those kind of things were taught to us early on.
And I remember,
I believe we have a friend here online, Natarajan, who is reminding you that we used to have once in a month Rajma Chawal.
Yeah,
correct.
So all those, I think, Abhi, all those, food items for people from Hindupur and many people who are from Andhra Pradesh would be complete novelty here,
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think if you really look at the time of the day, breakfast was a mix of South Indian and continental. Lunch was North Indian. Okay, so we boys from North India really loved that lunch, and we were really at home. And for dinner, it was a mix of South Indian and North Indian. So food was fantastic in primary school.
Yep. And Wednesday
I
was
think-
especially Wednesday was even more special because it was dosa day. You know,
It was a dosa day. Yes, we used to
it
get
was dosa day and Kasturi Uncle Day. It was the same. You know,
Correct.
dosa day and Kasturi Uncle Day.
Stories
So
by Kasturi Uncle. Yes.
double. Yeah, it was
And
So
when
double.
if you wanted to eat more, what was the process?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Oh, there was
Mrs.
no
Auntie
shortage of food. You know, as I said, the issue was
Second-hand
that whatever you
food.
take on your plate, you have to eat. You can't throw it away.
We have to
You
finish
can
it.
take how much ever you want, provided you eat it.
yeah, Mrs. Auntie used to monitor each and everybody's plate. Before it would finish, she would again put more. You know, so and she knew who would eat how much. So she had an average idea, you know, who would eat how much. And Indu Auntie used to go around, and you know, she used to put. You know, we were forced to eat quite a bit. So there was no choice because if he ate less, or if he lost weight or something, Swami would point out that's 100%. And then, you know, teachers were really scared that if Swami points out, they're going to have it. So they were really careful about the food because Swami would take personal interest in people's health. Very important. He used to.
So was there anything typically that you liked, and you know, even now when you go back, do you want to eat that?
Porridge.
Dosa.
I asked Auntie for porridge. I've
wheat porridge,
developed
yes.
a love for porridge. You know.
I think everything.
Yeah, when we go now to school, you know, when we go to meet our teachers and, you know, see Swami now, even now, we're going to have one meal there in school, at least one meal. And Auntie, even now, she, you know, after we have our lunch, she calls us. We have it in the same dining hall, you know, and she makes food for us. And she packs it also in a dabba, and she tells, don't eat outside in the canteen. Eat this dinner, or you come again to primary school and eat. So, you know, we used to, we still, yeah. So
I think I have a picture, all of you
And
eating
even
right
now,
now.
Abhi, we cannot open our mouth. Whatever food Auntie puts on the plate, we have to eat. If she refills, again we have to eat.
yeah,
Correct.
So
Correct.
from 81 till 2020, nothing has changed.
nothing else. Yeah.
And also the variety was so much. Like when we used to go back home, okay, for our vacations, our parents used to complain, "Oh my God, I cannot give you that much variety every day, like what you get in school, right?" So it was really, really, really mouth-watering dishes.
That
Yeah,
reminds
apart
me.
from
So
that,
you
I
all-
need to add. Can I add one point?
Yes, please, Vikram, go on.
Yeah, I remember when some kids were found, deficient in calcium. They had a special diet that was fixed. I mean, I think they got extra milk and cheese or something like that. And apart from that, we were given the multivitamin tablets every, I think,
Peridol.
lunchtime. We used to.
Peridol.
Yes,
Peridol.
yes. So that
Peridol-
special care was taken from the point of view of nutrition. Yes.
I
Peridol
see
in the
all of that. Is there, you know, you have mentioned a very important point that at a growing age, routine is very important because the Bhagwan, the way he fixes the whole thing is he doesn't give us even a minute to think. Because as you rightly said, Raghu, that, you know, idle mind is a workshop, devil's workshop. His whole system is constructed in such a way that children are always busy and doing constructively busy. So I think it's very important for all of us to get a glimpse of your primary school routine. How did you got packed up into activities from morning till night? So when did you wake up in the morning, kind of? So if you can give us a rundown of how was your routine on the day. Vikram, you can start. Anybody can start. Join in.
Yeah, so it used to start with Warden Auntie putting on the Hanuman Chalisa at around 5 o'clock, approximately 5 o'clock or 5:30. She used to put on the Hanuman Chalisa on her tape recorder, and you know, I was a kind of a monitor, so I used to hear that first, and then you know, we had to wake up all children. So we used to go around waking up all children around 5:30 or so approximately. I don't remember the exact time, but yes, we used to wake up all children. So all children had to sit on their beds. Once they sit on their beds, then we used to chant Karagre Vasite Lakshmi, the
Karagre
morning
Vasite Lakshmi prayer, the morning
Yeah.
prayer.
Yeah, morning prayer. And then after initially there was no Suprabhata message, but later on, after some months, probably a compulsory Suprabhatam was there. So everybody, standard 1 onwards, kids used to assemble in the prayer hall for Suprabhatam, morning Suprabhatam. And I know 90% of the children would go to sleep. They would doze off because very young. But then it became a habit of waking up early in the morning, chant Karagre Vasita Lakshmi, attend the Suprabhatam, and then go back and start off with the toothbrush and brush your
Getting
teeth.
ready for
Yeah, and then
brushing and bathing.
and Warden Auntie had made a rule that once you roll the bed, so we used to sleep on the floors. There were no bunk beds or anything as such like now. We used to sleep on the floor on the
You
mattress.
were sleeping on the floor? Which year are you
Yes.
talking
Yes.
about?
When we
Yeah, we
joined.
used to sleep on the
81,
floor.
82, the bunk
81.
beds were
Okay, in the
much later
beginning,
on.
81,
In the
82.
beginning,
Okay.
No, no.
yes.
I think we slept till floor even till 1988
Yes,
Yes.
as well.
for a very
Till
long time.
87, yes, till 88
Yeah.
on the floor.
Okay, great.
So Warden Auntie had made a rule that once you roll the bed, so what we had to do, children had to do was fold their bed sheet, fold their blanket, and roll the bed. So once you roll the bed, you're not supposed to unroll it again till in the evening when after when you have go to sleep. So once it was rolled, then all the day would begin. So getting ready, going to school, and all that.
So Warden Auntie was strict that once you roll the bed, it's done. So
Yeah.
say around 6 o'clock, you finished that, you did your brushing, you said your karagare, then what happens next?
Then,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
After we
Yeah,
got ready, we had a bhajan session. Okay. And, the children would be getting ready, and there was a time. By that time, all of us, by the time the Omkar started, the discipline required was we all had to be in the prayer hall, seated neatly in the rows, and silence to be maintained. Okay. I think it was a remarkable task. Today, controlling 1 or 2 children at home, we find it so challenging. But those teachers, in the beginning itself, they had 108 children to start with. Okay. And they had to put Swami's discipline, and we all did it. So by the time it was time for Omkar, the noise levels would subside. Nobody would be running around. And once the Omkar started, everybody would be still. Okay. And it was at that age we were initiated into Jyoti meditation. In our prayer hall, we had a photo of Bhagwan standing straight. It's a tall photograph. And Warden Auntie would take us through a guided, meditation, saying, start visualizing Swami from the feet, and slowly we went to his hair. And after the few, meditation, there would be bhajans. And then after bhajans, we would go in a single file to the dining hall for the breakfast. So it was, till it was free time, we would be running around in the dormitories, playing with each other. All that is fine. But when it was time for prayer, the discipline had to kick in. So we were able to...
I just wanted to add here, because I just remembered when you mentioned about 108, and it's a very important note there. When Swami announced this primary school, it seemed there were 10,008 applications were passed on. 1,008 were called for an interview, and 108 were selected as a first batch. So you all are fortunate to be that first 108 of Bhagwan.
Tremendously
fortunate. Great. So, and Warden Auntie, actually, we were hearing stories from our Uti brothers, and they too mentioned that Warden Auntie did the Jyoti meditation with them even there. So I think she has, continued helping children here also. So once you finished your Jyoti meditation, then what happened?
Yeah, then we would line up for breakfast. We would go down for breakfast. And then
Jyoti meditation and bhajan, and post that the breakfast.
And then the breakfast. And after having the breakfast, we would assemble in the foyer for the morning prayers, assembly session. So I think that was at about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, I think so.
So what was the assembly like? What all happened in assembly?
We all had to stand in rows according to our height and our class. Okay, so the shortest boy in the front and the tallest boy behind, and everyone 1 arm distance. Okay, and once you finish your breakfast, once we knew our place in the foyer, we had to come and stand and in silence. Okay, so once at the designated time, everyone would be there, and we would chant the morning prayer written by Bhagwan, with which we started this session. Oh Lord, take my hands. That was a prayer recited in the morning foyer session. And then that was done in a single file. We had to walk to our respective. First, the girls would walk to their classrooms, and then the boys would walk to their classrooms, and the classes would start.
So your classes were on the ground floor, and your hostel was on the first floor.
Yes.
But in 80s, you didn't have a prayer hall.
Empty at that time.
Okay. I have a picture for that. Let me show you that. Yes.
Yeah, that's from the second floor, I think. It was the second floor dormitory, which was unused at that time, yes.
I think the first official function, all of Swami's visits were impromptu and it would be blended into our day-to-day activities. That, I think, was the first time that there was a function, and therefore you saw earlier there was a very elaborate bed, and then there was a chair. Swami came and sat there, and then Swami himself served each and every person food that day. And we had, lunch with Swami. I think that was the first official function in primary school, if my memory serves us right.
Correct. Yes. This was on the top floor. Now it is the girls'
the girls' dormitory.
Yes.
So now I believe now there are bunk beds and all that. Okay.
Yes. The routine was a little different on Thursdays and Sundays. That is when we used to go for darshan. So I think darshan on Thursday and Sunday, and on Sunday it used to be darshan and bhajan at the mandir. So on Thursday it used to be just the darshan and come back. On Sunday it used to be the darshan and bhajan.
We would stay until bhajan.
And I think and Wednesday in the assembly session we had a story by Kasturi uncle.
Kasturi session. Yeah. Kasturi uncle would come and tell us stories.
Yes.
So usually when your school started and you had your classes, then when was the first break? When was the lunch or whatever?
So we had a 5+4 periods. Okay. So before lunch, we would have 5 periods, and then we would have lunch, and post lunch, we would again, start the classes. And then we would have 4 classes post lunch. And after the 9 periods of the day, around 4 or 4:30, we would be given milk and some tiffin. Okay. And then we would change into our sports dress and go to the ground to play. Games was compulsory.
And I think in the second session, we also had a games period, if I recollect correctly.
Yes. Those who had a games period would go for the games, yes.
Yes. And then in the evening at 4:30, yes.
That was a special games period from the class. We used to go from the class.
Yes, from the class, yes. From the class.
Yeah.
From the.
So do you have, now let me ask you, if you have memories in certain areas, like during assembly, did ever Swami come in?
Yeah.
Surprise you, and what did he do? Anything you want to share? Your assembly was happening in the foyer, right, in those days?
Yes,
assembly was happening in the foyer.
But it used to be sometime around the
foyer session. I remember, in the evening after the games period was over, before we used to play, games in the sports dress, and then we needed to have a wash and change into night dress and then assemble in the bhajan hall. So one particular day, I remember Swami came at that time when everyone was washing up, and he came in and he walked up to the first floor, and all the boys, rushed in the various stages of whatever, dress they were in, washing halfway through. And Swami saw, hey, what is this? Go, wear your clothes properly and come. Since you mentioned the impromptu visits, this is one memory I have of that impromptu visit,
So how did he come? He came up to your dormitory?
Yeah, he came up to the prayer hall. Okay.
Up to the prayer hall.
Gates would always be open. And any time, Swami's car will come, and he would, go wherever he, wanted to go. So anytime he could just walk in. And in the beginning months, perhaps, if not daily, alternate day or once in 3 days, we would have a visit.
Every day.
So you all ran towards Swami in whatever way you were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we were actually we had just finished our games, the sports, and then we had gone up and we were all changing. We're changing, having a wash and changing for the prayer session and all the stuff. So many of them were like literally half undressed actually. So, but we just
many people ran to Bhagwan in their inner clothes, and some said, "Hey, the butler eskonira."
Yeah.
That's sweet. So do you have any other recollection of Swami in your bhajan sessions, and did he interact with you during bhajans? Did he
One
sing bhajans?
particular point, we spoke of food, right, and the tasty food that we all had. Apart from the food for the body, we need to touch upon the food for the mind and the food for the soul that we got in primary school. Okay, given the activities and schedule that we had, so we had the bhajans. So there, the boys who could sing would sing, and boys were given talam and the duffly to play. So the musical talents increased. And Kasturi Garu used to come and tell us stories of Swami on Wednesday. We used to make drawings of those stories and show to Swami on Thursday. Like, I think Vikram will tell us more. He was a very talented artist. Okay, Vara participated in a Qawwali, so we were taught Qawwali songs. The dramatic started there itself. I think the first play done by primary school was the Prahlada drama. People were given elocution. People could speak Vedam. So all the activities were made available to us. We were taught everything. So not only we grew physically, but even our personalities blossomed.
Who are these people playing instruments?
They're my batchmates actually. I can name them also. There is Gopal Chaudhary, Keshav Naik, and Sai Kiran Shetya, Rakesh Babu, Nilamega Sham, Uma Shankar, and Rajnish Chetia. So this is my batch actually, but this is, what they're wearing is actually the night dress. So we had a pink color night dress, very typically. This was sometime in 6th standard or 7th standard, I think. I'm not too sure which class, but 6th or 7th standard. And we had this one of the night dress.
What are you doing here? Are you singing some song, or what is happening here?
Yeah, so this, you can see here actually, he's playing the harmonium, and it's a make-believe drama sort of thing, which we just impromptu, something happened. I cannot recollect the whole incident exactly. But then there are so many of these. This is the Vedam chanting, So there's a story to this. Please allow me. So Swami one day, apparently, Prasanna ma'am taught us Vedam chanting. Okay, we call her Prasanna sister. Now we're calling her Prasanna ma'am, Prasanna sister. So one day Swami just instructed Prasanna sister that teach them mantra pushpam. Okay, so teachers never questioned why. So they never questioned Swami anything. When Swami said teach them, she started teaching. So this was in 5th standard. So a couple of us were selected for teaching, for learning the Veda chanting, and that too mantra pushpam. And then Swami said, this Dashara, the children will do the Veda chanting. So that time what the procedure was, in the morning session where the yajna used to happen, after the yajna finished at around 11:30 or so approximately, it used to end with mantra pushpam being chanted by the priests, the ones who used to do this one initially. So, but then when we were in standard 5, what Swami decided was, after the yajna finishes, the children would chant the Vedam mantra pushpam. So this photo which you can see here is probably one of the first, probably the first day of Vedam chanting, where we did the mantra pushpam chanting, and then following this day, Swami told that you all are chanting very well, and he gave us dresses. He gave us an orange dhoti and a white angavastra to wear, like how the priests wear, a silk, this one. And I don't have a photo of that. So this is how we used to do the Vedam chanting during Dashara time. And yeah.
Excellent. I believe you had a song also, right? Qawwali you sang?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was in the Qawwali. This is my brother actually, Kiran Krishna. So during the Qawwali, this is my batch, and other batches also, junior, standard 1, standard 2, standard 5, all were there involved in this. So we sang. Lata sister taught us a qawwali to sing, for the.
Do you recall the lines? Do you recall any
Yeah.
lines of this?
Yeah. I can still sing.
Just sing a few lines for us then.
Yeah. So it goes like this. पल्लवी तेरो नाम है घनश्याम मुरली वाले तुझको मेरा सलाम है साई राम परती वाले तुझको मेरा प्रणाम है पल्लवी तेरो नाम है. So yeah, so this is what
That's
we were
nice.
taught. Yeah.
The meaning is like, God is your name, O resident of Parthi. So sweet. So you still
This
have
was
that
hosted
richer
in the
song.
Purnachandra Hall.
Yes, Purnachandra Hall.
And what was this?
This was a Bal Vikas rally which happened sometime, I think in 1983.
I think 83, yes.
Yeah, Bal Vikas rally. So we paraded in the this is the canteen. Now it is the South Indian canteen or the canteen, and we had to go in a file.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this photograph, I am there standing in the center with that maroon shawl. When I was in 6th class, Swami had come for the prize distribution ceremony. So there was a cultural program held. There was a dance and there was a dramatic. I played the role of Brutus, not Brutus, Mark Antony. This is from Caesar, Shakespeare's Caesar. And I narrated that dialogue, friends, Romans and countrymen. It was a small skit that we played in front of Bhagwan. And then after the whole function was over, we took this photograph outside the school in our costumes.
That's sweet. I believe this was your Prahalada?
Yeah, this was the Prahalada drama. So you can see Prahalada and Hiranyakashipu here. Hiranyakashipu, yeah. So we had done this. No, this was later on in 60th birthday.
School, yeah, I know.
This is high school, yeah.
So this is your assembly.
Yeah, and these are the quotations you can see here.
Photograph is, and the earlier photograph when Vara was explaining, that's a very emotional photograph because I think all three of us, Vara, Vikram and myself would have been in that assembly that day in that photograph. That earlier black and white when Vara was explaining the quotations,
Oh.
Yes.
The assembly photograph you're talking about?
Yeah, the assembly
when
photo.
Vara was explaining the quotations that, we wrote of Swami.
Correct.
So all that day, the whole school was in the foyer when Swami came and that photograph was taken that day.
Yeah. Also, Abhi, brother, I have a very important or a very nice memory of the Vedam chanting, which I would like to recall. I can never forget it in my whole life. Yeah. So it so happened that during the Vedam chanting, one of the days, we were chanting, and then apparently I fainted. I fainted, and then Warden Auntie was down in the Purnachandra auditorium. She was seeing, and she was indicating Swami, like, one boy is like, I was standing, but I was nearly swinging. I did not fall down, but I was swinging. And then Warden Auntie pointed it out to Swami, and Swami saw her, and then he rushed towards me, and he saw me, swinging, like, almost about to fall down. So what he did, he rushed to his table. On his table, there used to be a silver glass with water, and he rushed with the glass, and he made me drink that glass of water. And then I became, all right again. And then,
So Swami fed you the water from his own glass.
Yes. Swami fed me the water from his own glass. And, it was like the Amrit, which I have probably had the good luck. And then, just not that, he took such personal care, for everybody. There were a few more days left for the Dashera to finish. So Swami used to send a car, a blue color Fiat he had. So he used to send that car so that, I would go, I was a little unwell, but I had to still chant. So I used to go in the car for a couple of days along with this one to, for attending the chanting of the Vedam in the Purnachandra auditorium. So he used to take so much interest in each and every kid. So yeah. And also,
So when you had a Thursdays and Sundays you came for darshan in Mandir.
Sudarshan.
So
Yes.
as a child and a growing up person, let me take this discussion a little bit on different angle. So it is very intriguing sometimes. When you are a child, you go to Mandir. Obviously, you are ushered in like a royalties, and you have a place to go and attend. And
Yes.
then who's waiting for you, he's been admired and worshipped by millions. So everybody's eyes on him, and his eyes are on you. That kind of an upbringing that you feel literally on the top of the world, because the person who is the most important gives you importance. That kind of a scenario. I hope you're getting me. So
Yeah.
from that stage, when you have now grown up, how would you look back and think what happened to you, and how did you comprehend the phenomena called Satya Sai Baba?
see,
I
Amitabh.
can I can share some incident there. I was like, I think especially one of the most memorable times any student has is usually when he goes and celebrates his birthday in front of Swami, and you get that special attention. And Swami creates vibhuti, he autographs your photograph, and everyone is really excited for that particular day. And for me, it was. That day I was really awaiting it. And those days, I think in primary school, Swami's camera photographs was the currency of any bets or any positions. That I have 3 photographs, how many photographs you have, and so I was wanting one camera photograph so that when I go and celebrate my birthday, Swami actually autographs that. And my mother was there, and I asked my mother, "Can you go and get me a camera photograph?" And those days, Mr. Padmanabhan used to take Swami's photographs, and he had a shop outside the mandir. And I was really awaiting, and my mother went and bought something, and she actually gave me a small photograph, and it was a big envelope. And when I opened it, it was just a small passport size photograph of Swami. I think it was 2 rupees 50 paisa or something, and 2 rupees 50 paisa those days you could have 2 meals in the canteen, full meals. And I asked my mom, right, why are you like, every guy in my class is having a big photograph and having an what do you call, your passport size photograph or a cabinet size photograph, and it's going to be really embarrassing for me to really take this photograph to Swami to really sign it. And I was really miffed, and I was crying, and she said, no, this is all I can afford. And I actually was praying that day that Swami doesn't sign anyone's photograph, so that I don't need to show my photograph and really be made fun of. And the evening we actually went, and we were sitting in the mandir, and Swami comes, and Swami creates vibhuti, gives it, throws akshata to everyone. And then after that, I'm praying Swami desperately, please don't sign those photographs for anyone. And Swami says, okay, boys, give me photographs, I'll sign. And everyone started giving photographs to Swami, and I was like thinking, should I give or should I not give? And that day, someone gave a life-size photograph, a massive photograph, and this guy had a big, thick pen. And Swami signed it, and then Swami asked any more photographs, and um, everyone had their photograph signed. And I took out my photograph from my pocket and sheepishly just showed it to Swami. And then Swami looked at it and said, hey, this is such a small photograph. Kaisa sign kar sakta hai? I have such a fat pen. And he had just signed this massive photograph. And everyone around me started laughing. And then I just almost broke down. And my heart was just crying, and like, how can Swami, you really do this to me? And then Swami asks for the photograph. He takes that photograph. He looks at it, and then he says, anyone who has got a thin pen, right? Because those fat pens wouldn't really sign that photograph. And I think Vednarayan sir or Bhimesh Sharma sir, who was sitting in the side, they actually took it from their pocket and gave a very small, thin-nibbed pilot pen to Swami. And then Swami took this small photograph and he just signed it very, very intricately. And it took so much time of Swami, so much attention to detail. And then Swami looked at it for some time, and Swami said, bahut acha photograph, very nice photograph. And as soon as Swami left, everyone pounced on me and gave me full attention. Show me that photograph, show me that photograph. And I think that was the attention what Swami gives to you, and he makes you feel that he's just for you. Even you're a child and there are so many people around. He had that one-to-one direct connection with everyone who was in Puttaparthi, whether it is a class 1 kindergarten boy or it's an MBA boy. Swami had that beautiful, beautiful connect.
Yeah. So with this same regard, so when we used to go to, when we were at the darshan times, Swami used to like chat up somebody, talk to somebody, bless somebody with vibhuti, somebody, like he said, sign the photograph and all. So there was this one incident. There is a quiet boy in my class. I mean, one fine day, Swami suddenly tells him, you have to go home during the darshan, So that boy is like really shocked. Why Swami is telling me to go home? But yeah, so after the darshan finished, then when we go back to school, the teachers get a message that his mother was unwell, and then he has to go home. So this happened even before the teachers got the message. Swami had told him you have to go home. So the boy is put in the first bus to go to his hometown, and this is being narrated by my friend. And in the bus, this boy is crying because he's all alone. He's around 6th standard, but he has to go home, and he's crying. He doesn't know what to do. He wants to sleep and all. And then suddenly somebody appears. There's a person who comes and sits next to him. And this boy wanted to just put his shoulder on somebody and go to sleep and all that. And he goes to sleep, and the next when he wakes up in the morning, that boy is not there who was sitting next to him. So this boy is like really surprised, like at least I had a good night's sleep on somebody's shoulder. I wanted to cry and go to sleep. He wakes up, and then his uncle comes and picks him up to take him to see his mother. So Swami took, Swami knew about everybody. Even though he might not talk to everybody, he knew about each and every one sitting there, and he would talk to that particular person at the right time, whenever there was a chance. It was all.
Let me ask you from a perspective to give you. See, all of you had a backdrop of Bhagwan. Your parents were amazing people, devotees, and who had that faith to send you to Bhagwan. So by the time you joined and you grew up, Swami was like, it was fed into your mind that he's God, even though you didn't understand what God means to you. Correct? So as you grew up, I'm sure especially in the teenage, when you start thinking and you want validation for your own self. So was there any period of time in your lives that you required a validation, or you got a validation, and you define your own way what God would mean for you?
Okay, I would like to add here.
Sure, Vikram.
The point you just said sometime back, in which when you see that Swami, who is all important for everybody, and he gives you so much of importance. At the initial stage, you feel as if you just feel the importance, and you feel you're super important. But over a period of time, as you mature, then you start thinking, then you start to introspect that there must be something that Swami wants out of you, or that that we have some kind of a inner awakening to be achieved. So then you start introspecting, and you start reading, and then you try to understand in life, the meaning of God. And
You have to do your own bit to really
Yes,
consolidate
exactly.
what you have learned.
Because in
Okay.
higher secondary school, when I reached, I think I was in 10th or 11th class, when I had started reading books on Swami's experiences, and books on the life of Swami Vivekananda, and the book of by Yogananda, Swami Yogananda. And then I started understanding uh, the concept of God. So
Yeah. So
Yeah, anybody, please,
mentioned
please,
about-
please. I'm just open it up. Yeah. Yes, Raghu,
I mentioned
anybody.
about how we spoke of food for the body, then we spoke of the food for the mind and the personality, and the food for the soul. I think that dimension of came to us during those darshan sessions. Small experiences, but had a deep impact. I'll relate one experience of mine. Okay, so we would go and sit down for darshan. And as everyone knows, before Swami emerges from the interview room and starts the darshan, it would be complete pin drop silence that had to be maintained. Okay, and even as children, we used to maintain that. One particular Sunday or Thursday, there was a teacher sitting next to me, and one thought was going on before in my mind as to what would Swami be doing before he emerges from the darshan. Okay. So very softly, I whispered into my teacher's ear, "Auntie, would Swami, or we used to call him sister, would Swami be having breakfast? Would he be reading letters?" And immediately, I just, she also said, "I don't know." And then, we had to maintain the silence. So the conversation stopped. Okay. And you can imagine that we had to have that conversation in extremely soft tone because we cannot disturb the silence around us. Okay. Eventually, Swami emerged and from the entry room, and he glided, down the sands. And as he neared us, he said, "You two were discussing, what I would be doing before I come for darshan." Okay. So he revealed his omniscience of that conversation, that it was supposed to be a private conversation between me and my teacher, but in every private conversation, Swami is always the third party. So those lessons, we learned very early on. All that built us up at this subconscious level of the concept of God and what he would do. Vara elaborated about the Vedam that we learned, and we were taught the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhakti Yoga chapter was taught to us in primary school. We learned the entire chapter and we could sing in front of Bhagwan. Okay. While of course the meanings and those things came much later on, the foundation was laid. Swami emphasizes so much on Sanatana Dharma. Okay. The foundation was laid at that stage. Another epochal event, that happened was in 17th March 1983 when Swami did the Samuhika Upanayanam. Okay, all the primary school boys were, whose parents were willing, unless there was any reason, we participated in the Upanayanam. We received the sacred thread from Swami's hand, and we, were initiated into the Gayatri. And our schedule changed. Early in the morning, I mentioned of how we would, start with the Omkaras, Jyoti meditation, and bhajan. Yes, this is the photograph of that event, of one of the later events. Then
yeah,
we
this was in
started
1984. No, not 84. Yeah, 85, I think.
Okay, so I think there was
It
another
must be
photograph
85.
of me. He was there.
Yeah.
We were initiated, so we started chanting the Gayatri. The teachers would teach us. We had to hold the sacred thread, one thread, Gayatri, second and third. So the Gayatri chanting was inculcated into us. So all these habits, chanting bhajan, learning Vedam, yeah, that is the photograph. And I'm in that photograph. I can't have a cursor. Me and my three brothers are seated. So these habits were in, you can see the three boys here, spectacle. That's me, my elder brother. Those three. Okay, those three. That's me, my elder brother, and my eldest brother, flanked by my parents, and my mother is turning her head back. And in this photograph, I'm looking back and looking at Swami. Okay. To each and every one of the Vatus there, Swami went and gave the sacred thread. So the spiritual dimension of us was, building up through these experiences, the various things that happened in the darshan when we went there. So that was the third dimension, physical, mental, and the spiritual dimensions of our personalities were being developed.
How would you say?
Yeah.
How did you in your
about this thread ceremony? I have a thing to say. So I was also there. I mean, along with Raghu for the thread ceremony, and then my dad could not come for the this one. Both the parents had to be there, mother and father, for the thread ceremony. So my mother only could make it to the thread ceremony function. And when Swami was there, you've seen that photograph where Swami was coming to each and every person. So when he came to us, my mother, with folded hands, she told Swami, husband, Rale Poyeru. You know what Swami said? He said, Nenu, Nanagaru. He said,
I'm your father. I'm his father.
He said, I am your father. I am his father. So Swami took the role of the father during the third ceremony. And then my mom was like crying buckets. We never understood what it meant to her. But, I still remember that words when Swami said, I am the father. And then he was truly a father figure.
I think Raghu has shared this picture that his son also got, Yagnopavit from Swami. So it's very beautiful. Your father gets it, son gets it. I think in primary school, you have many of you studied and now your children are studying there. So
That's
it's
right.
a
Yes.
great feeling. It's a great
My
feeling.
son is
of how
studying there.
How many of your children are studying in primary school?
My son studies in primary. He's in school now.
Okay, yours and Raghu's and Amitabh is far. Okay.
No.
How would you okay, how would you tell, because Swami used to I'm in education, and one day Bhagwan had made a very passing statement, and I felt very, I could contemplate on it for months. He said teachers, they give a lot of things, and then he said values are the main thing which you have to impart to children. And in passing, he said, but it sounds very casual, but it's such a powerful statement he made. He said, even if you can't give anything to child, if you can bring God close to the child, you have done the duty. So imagine the power of that statement, that in life, if God can come into life, then everything else is filled in. So he gave that one statement importance, that if anything else you can't do, if you can just do this much, you have done it. So if I may ask you, how do you think your teachers integrated that element and brought God into you in while teaching subjects, or while handling you in suppose in kitchen surveying or whatever, in sports? How was God integrated everywhere?
I think if I may add in, there was I remember a few things apart from the whole routine which was surrounding Swami, and the focus was Swami, and the Sundays and Saturdays, the Sundays and Thursdays we had. I remember Ramayana was really taught to us in school, and we had Shashi ma'am really taking us through, and that was sort of the best subject for all of us. We really loved the way she used to tell the story, and also we used to have fantastic video sessions or TV sessions. Those days, they used to get the TV from the college, and they used to show us inspiring movies like Jesus of Nazareth, or when Swami used to go to college, they used to invite us there. And I remember seeing alongside Swami when I was in primary school, Prahlada, Ramayana, Sakubai, and all those movies. And as we went into higher secondary school and also to our college, we sort of saw the same movies alongside with Swami, with our career as we grew up, the same movies, and Swami used to have that same reaction. So those stories really had a very deep connection into all our heads, and that's what we try to show our kids as well. Okay, you need to really see this, and that was one thing which really had a great impact on our lives and our subconscious.
Yeah, I
So
would
I'm
like
trying
to
to
add.
understand your teacher's impact. Yes.
Yes, I would like to add from this point of view, uh, while we have been there in school, what we have been taught by our teachers and what Swami's taught us, what I found in my life in my career, throughout my career, I've been having a lot of my colleagues who were very keen to know where I studied. So basically, basic human values were so ingrained within us that there were so many people who were very, keen, obviously keen to know where I studied and what was the educational background, and to the extent they found out about the place and they wanted to put their children there. So I feel that's connected indirectly to the education that we were imparted.
Sure. Yes, Farah.
Yeah, so see, when it comes to Swami, Swami was the greatest teacher. Even as small kids, at least I understood this. There are two small incidents which I have to narrate to, put that ahead. One is, Swami used to eat pan once upon a time, and then I remember the discussion when he was talking about bad habits. You should not have bad habits. You should not have a habit, and all those kind of things. And few days or months after that, I I saw Swami not chewing pan anymore. So it was in my mind, like he was talking about habits, but then he himself was chewing pan. But then he always wanted to set an example. Okay, so he taught by setting an example. There was another incident where my mother. I mean, we got an interview, personal interview with Swami, and then my mother had this chance of telling Swami, you are God to us, and thank you for taking my children into the school. That's a really big thing. You know what Swami said? And as a child, I was about 9, 10, 11 years old, and what he said still stuck to me. He said, you know what? He said, I am not God. Everybody is a God. And you have to understand that you are God. The day you realize that you are God, then you become a God. That's one. Second, what he said, don't thank me for getting your children into the school. In fact, they are doing a great favor to me by joining my school. So can you imagine Swami saying that, we are doing a favor to him. So humility, he taught us humility. And possibly that is one of the biggest lessons of our life. One is to show an example, and live an example, and humility. These are two takeaway, lessons which Swami has taught us. And the same thing I saw in our teachers. Whenever our teachers used to do something, it was always with Swami. Swami would want this. Swami will do this. Swami will like this. So whatever they did, they dedicated it to Swami. So, that is how they slowly built up the idea that Swami is God, because everything they did was dedicated to Swami. So in the day-to-day routine, whatever they used to do, when it was dedicated to Swami, then we started realizing, as children, we don't know what is God. And when teachers tell you he is God, many will question, how is he a God? So this is how the teachers also built up that idea of God in us from the very childhood. And then
I
it stayed with us for
I
life.
remember some of the questions when Swami used to talk to boys. Our teachers used to really prep us up. If Swami asks you, "Where are you from?" you should say, "Swami, I'm from you."
From you.
Right,
From
and
you.
that's sort of
Yeah.
that's sort of gone into our head. And even while we were in college, when or while we went in college, when Swami asked you, "Where are you from?" and we would have actually forgotten, and we would have told our native place. And then Swami calls the primary school boy, and the primary school boy comes, and Swami asks him, "Where are you from?" and the primary school boy says, "Swami, I'm from you." And Swami says, "See, no use staying in in this place for so long. See this primary school boy, he really knows where he's from." And that was
Boss, you don't know how much scolding we have got because of you people. Because when he would ask us, we would not
yeah.
know. We had not been taught, so we would tell, Hyderabad, Delhi, Calcutta, whatever, and then Swami said Pichi, and then he'll immediately ask you, and you said Swami from you, and
We are
Swami will
from
tell
you.
Chudu, learn from them. So
And that was all
he
our
used to
teachers.
clear.
you know, Amitabh, you raised a very interesting point. How we were taught. To actually, I don't think we understood what we meant. Swami, we came from you. Teachers taught us, and we said it. Okay, so there I have a personal memory associated. In the fifth class, we received an interview. I received an interview with my parents. It was actually during the holidays. And as soon as we entered into the outer entry room and we all settled down, Swami would, have those conversations. And when it was our turn, he asked me, where are you from? Okay. I said, Hind. We were from Hindupur. And then the primary school training kicked in. I said, Swami, I've come from you. The moment I gave that answer, the way Swami was so delighted, he turned to us, see, chudu na pillavadu. And at that time, he created this locket that I'm still wearing. And it was on that occasion he presented me with this locket. So that, I come from you has a very sweet and a personal memory for me. Sorry, Amitabh, please
Wow,
continue.
wow. Fantastic.
Actually, this is a very important thing. I would like to really know, because these seeds which he has sown in that age has to sprout one day. I recall, I don't know who were you, if you can know that story of the boy. He was from Assam, it seems. And I believe Chief Minister of Assam was on a visit that time to Parthi. And he was sitting in the portico. And we were all there. And suddenly you all primary school children came and sat in the front. You used to sit right in front of us in the portico. And Swami picked up that Assam boy from you group. And he wanted to show off to the person. He had a habit like motherly thing. So he asked that boy, where are you from? He said, Assam, Swami. No, from you, Swami. Then Swami said, hey, physically, where are you from? So Swami had to change the sentence. And the boy said, Swami, Assam. Then Swami looked at the Assam chief minister and smiled. And then he asked him, who is the chief minister of Assam? I believe he must be in 3rd or 4th grade. So poor fellow did not know. So he said, I don't know. And he very confidently told Swami, I don't know. So it was like embarrassing for Swami, right? The chief minister sitting there. He wanted to show off and it just misfired. And then Swami asked him, why don't you know? And that boy very sweetly said, Swami, I don't need to know. I know you, that's enough. And Swami just went up to him and gave him a hug. And I remember that story because it was so impressive that out of the innocence, the child, what he said was amazing. That when I know God, I don't need to know anybody else. And Swami just went forward and hugged him.
Absolutely, because if I really look at again how the focus was on Swami, right, and whichever celebrity came or any big shot came to Swami, whether it's a movie star or a cricketer or anyone, none of us really cared because our focus was just around Swami. Okay, get a touch from him, get a word from him, give him a letter. And even till date, if I'm in the airport and if I see any celebrity or anyone, I don't even give him a second look because the focus is always Swami. And I can totally relate to what that boy was actually mentioning, that he doesn't know who the chief minister is because all he needs to know is Swami, and that is essentially the educational phenomenon of the primary school.
One thing I wanted to ask Raghu also. Raghu had mentioned, I heard that you had fallen and you had an accident.
Yeah. So
because that was a
in
very interesting aspect for Swami. So please explain that.
So, this was when the 4th class had just started. Okay. So this would have been, the 6 months of the school being, or even the 4th or the 5th month of the operation of the school. 3rd class got over. We had gone for vacation and come, and 4th class had started. We were all playing in the playground one evening, and there was a newly installed merry-go-round. And I was at the center of the merry-go-round, and I was pushing all the boys. And after the merry-go-round, took some speed, I, jumped and sat on the spokes there. Okay. And one evening, what happened was, when this was going on, my leg got caught in the rods below. There was a, central rod, and then there were supporting rods. Okay. My leg got caught in it, and I went around my leg. So it broke. Both the bones broke, and everything was, entangled, and it was a, very horrible sight. Okay. I don't know who, one person came and he picked me up from the, the merry-go-round and took me inside the school. And I was made to lie down in the foyer where we have our assembly session. And there was blood all over the place. And, the teachers, really, were very scared, and they were very worried seeing what was happening. And
so you had a fracture. You had a fracture.
I had a fracture, compound fracture, and it was open. So I was bleeding. and there was some carpentry work going on, and there was someone said that my leg has to be put in a cast. So they were, preparing a piece of wood, and then they were bandaging my leg around it. I have complete memory of it, vivid what all was happening, but I was not experiencing any pain whatsoever. Okay, everybody around me was worried except me. Okay, and I was very cool and calm and composed. Munni auntie was crying and she was feeding me coffee. Someone said administer coffee to me because I might be in shock. And while I have no memory of it, I remember being cool. She tells me now that I was wiping her tears and telling, "Don't worry, auntie, Swami will take care of me." Okay. So the patient was giving, the badly affected, the injured boy was giving courage to Munni auntie, our principal. And then I was taken to the general hospital. And I believe, Munni auntie and Warden auntie went to Mandir, and Munni auntie was crying loudly. So Swami, heard the commotion, and he came down, and, the teachers narrated what had happened. He created vibhuti for me and gave to Munni auntie and said, "Don't worry, he will take care of it." And that vibhuti was given to me. And then I slept in the night. The message went to my parents and they came. So despite the horrible accident, I have there are no rods. My leg is completely fine. I run. I have participated in the marathons of the college and also in, recently. And what Swami and, what Munni auntie says, that even now that I was wiping her tears and telling, "Don't worry, auntie, Swami will take care of me. I will be all right." I don't know where that faith came from, but I guess.
But see, this is what I was mentioning, that this is a shadow, this is a protective gear of Bhagwan that really covers, and I believe it is still carrying on with you all. Let me quickly take you through some pictures, and if you have any special memories, do mention. So just tell the audience about what is the occasion. I believe this must be sports time.
Yeah, I think this was Swami came to see some practice going on.
Sports meet practice. Yes.
Correct. Sports meet practice.
Oh, inauguration of the elephant slide. Yeah. So Swami used to, when the slide was being made also, Swami used to come and inspect every time whether it is being made properly, whether it is smooth enough, whether it is, the height is good enough for the children to go in, its safety, everything. Swami used to personally inspect every aspect of these slides. So this is the day when the inauguration happened, where, Swami went in. So you have to go in, from the back and come out here and then slide down the
trunk.
Yeah.
So,
slide down the trunk.
Yeah.
This is, I think,
one of the sports practice or sports day or something like that.
Competition. Yeah, some competition.
This was the inauguration of the elephant slide. Yeah.
This is elephant slide or this one?
No, this is the other side. Slide on the girl side.
Yeah, this is on the girl side. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is the girl side.
This is again our practice, sports meet practice. And Swami used to just come suddenly and give us a prize and really come and see the practices.
And you can notice the hilltop is totally barren at that time, and now it is full green.
Fully green, yes. Same one, yes.
This is your practice.
We started primary school with only one ground in front of us. And when those bulldozers came and they developed the college ground also into two, that was when this portion also was cleared up and we got one more ground behind.
Yes. Yeah. What is this? Whose class?
These are all my classmates, standing here. It is Bharani, that is Suraj. And I think this photograph was taken near where the fountain in front of the primary school is there.
Okay.
This would have been the
so
batch
giving
photos.
Poses there.
Yeah.
You all seem to be having good time, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, we are very happy to be together actually.
And
because we
the
all
dress that we are
brothers,
wearing is the school dress, the blue shirt
this
and
is
the
my
dark blue trousers.
Yeah. This is my batch, standard 5. So yeah, a lot of them I can recognize.
This is Sai, right? Sai and Gogeshwar Kar.
Yeah, this is M. Sai Kiran, Jogeshwar Kar, K. Lakshman, and G. Srinivas here, Sanjay Chatterjee, C. Shrikant, Sudhir Kumar, T. M. Gopal. So yeah, this is my batch again. Naveen Girishankar here. He was there in the last episode.
So what are you doing here?
I'm not sure. This is some drama. I mean, some impromptu drama which they had done. And this one. So there were a lot of these skits and dramas which we used to do. Yeah.
This was my batch. I think in grade 5 or so.
Lovely. Okay, this we saw.
These are my
is
classmates. This is, being
So
here,
the same day the
Subramaniam,
site
staring at
inauguration
us.
took place.
Yeah, this is Sharan Khanna. I remember my batchmate.
This is Mr. Kapoor uncle. Kapoor uncle, you
yeah,
remember?
That's
Kapoor
Kapoor
uncle,
uncle.
yes.
Kapoor uncle had a very lovely duty. All the boys, whose birthday it
The
was,
birthday boys. Yeah.
irrespective
Correct.
of the day, they could go to Mandir and sit with the tray.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Kapoor
The tray,
uncle
yeah.
would escort us along with a rose
Correct.
and a tray and escort us back to, the school after the bhajan.
To the school.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is the next to him is Mr. Chiranjeevi Rao,
Chiranjeevi Rao,
another,
sir.
Chiranjeevi
another
Rao,
beautiful personality. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Abhi, you see the back. So the previous photograph, you see, the entire place till the college is barren. That is
Totally
where
barren.
the
Yes.
management block stands.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, in one of the darshan sessions when Swami used to walk through. These
Where
are all
your
our
teachers.
Yeah, yeah.
Teachers.
This would have been taken at the beginning of the school,
Yeah, I can see Lata ma'am. You can see Warden Auntie, Prasanna ma'am.
Sukanya sister,
Correct.
Lakshmi sister,
Lata.
Sukanya sister, Prasanna sister,
Lata ma'am.
then Warden auntie, here Indu auntie or kitchen auntie,
Kitchen auntie,
And-
correct.
Yes.
and yeah,
We also
Sukanya
had the
sister just
doctor.
next to.
I don't recollect. the name.
Another
Sunanda
beautiful
ma'am. Sunanda
aspect of
aunty.
your school is your involvement and your connect with the alma mater till date. So how is that right now? When you go back, how is that treatment?
Beautiful. So yeah, this I have to mention.
Now, the college boys, Abhi, you had a big role to play in that. The Swami made 1st of January, the alumni day, and
Yes.
that is for the college. So the way it has evolved is 31st December is the day for the primary school boys, okay, and on primary school boys and girls, okay, and that is the day we participate. We put up a program. That's our day. So Sai Kulwant Hall evening session is our offering to Swami, where all the alumni we participate in the program, and we are all invited that day for a dinner and lunch, boys one session and the girls one session with families, and it's a mega day. It's an elaborate menu, and hordes of excited alumni with their spouses and children descend in primary school. We on that day we have a full free run. We can go to all the dormitories, the classrooms along with our family members. We can show our spouses and children the place where we live, the sports. We play on the slide. We go down the slides. We relive our childhood. You can see how excited Auntie is in this photograph. We are also excited. Auntie also is very excited to see us all. It's a fantastic day where we all gather in very large numbers, and we are treated like royalty that day. Not only on 31st, I think I think
me
Vara
here.
had gone on an impromptu
Yeah.
visit. Vara, you can tell about this visit.
Yeah, so me here and Naveen Girishankar here, and this was sometime in 1999, 2000. So the best part is, Warden Auntie, she used to remember. She remembers everybody's names. Okay, till her last breath. Till she was on her deathbed. She remembered not only all the batches, not only the names of all the students who passed. She knew the names of their wife and the children of the students also, and she used to call them by name. So
And also the roll numbers.
yeah, roll number.
Yes.
And every Guru Purnima, I call them to wish them, and seek their blessings. And she would ask me along with my wife's name. She would call out the name and my son's name, and she would ask how we are. So she remembers everybody's name. All the teachers, they know us by names even now. They haven't forgotten.
Yeah, can I add one point here? There's
Yes.
a very interesting experience that I had. So, I mean, I had passed out of primary school in 1987. And after passing out, I did not get a chance to go back to primary school until 2006 when I got married. And I came with my wife for this December 31st and 1st January alumni meet. And I was very skeptical and very, doubtful as to whether the teachers would recognize me or not. So it's like more than 20 years gap. I pass out from class 7 and then I'm back after 20 years after I get married. So I'm just worried. I'm thinking, and I walked with my wife into primary school, and what we experienced there is, I mean, I see Warden Auntie sitting there, and I say Sairam Auntie, and her reaction is, Vikram, kahan tha tu? And I was like, Auntie, you recognized me? You remember my name? She said, Kya baat kar raha hai? How can we forget you? And it was the day, I mean, my wife was there. She looked at the place and she was so surprised and so happy. So she decided that if you have a son or a daughter, I would want the person to study in this school. So it's like, it was just totally unbelievable. I was entering there after more than 20 years, and Warden Auntie just looked at me, told my name and said, where were you till now?
Abhi, if you could show that photograph of me with my son and Warden Auntie.
Sure,
in fact,
sure.
That was happened in the few months after he was born. I had, gone to Parthi, and then I went to primary school. And this is the photograph. And Warden Auntie is in her chair, where she always used to sit throughout. And she is, she was so, you can see the delight on her face. She was, asking about the welfare about my son and how he was, and she never forgot that I had a son. And why I requested for this photograph is, the last time I met Auntie, her health had substantially deteriorated. We didn't know. Later on, we came to know that she was suffering from stomach cancer, and I had gone along with another classmate to primary school. We met Munni Auntie, and then we requested if we could go up and see Warden Auntie, and her daughters were taking care of her. Okay, we went up and we waited outside, and when the daughters allowed us in, she was very weak and feeble. She spoke to me, and then she asked, "How's Chotu?" Okay, in her pain, at her advanced age, she still hadn't forgotten not only me, she remembered my son also, and was inquiring about him. I don't think any words can describe their affection and the love that they have towards us.
Excellent.
Yes, absolutely.
I just wanted to share some writings have come. Jogeshwar Kar writes about Warden Auntie, our loving auntie, whom all of us miss. She has shaped many of our lives, a true Karmayogi. And many of them are thanking you all for bringing the old memories back. So just wanted to read that few statements. Arunesh Puneet writes, Sairam, it is wonderful to hear from so many of our brothers from whom we have not heard before. This is wonderful series. Love the previous discussion. And I think let me read one more. Brother Lakshmi Narayan Kote writes, Sairam, Abhimanyu, it's so nice to hear these boys speaking. Imagine how his love has showered on everyone, that impact in each one of them it has created. So I think your stories have brought back a lot of memories and good days. It has brought back those good days and good memories to everybody. I know our time is also running, and we have to unfortunately look at the closing. So before I close, let me ask you a final question. Again, not a question, but just picking your brains a little bit more. Many devotees would love to see, to see how you all who have lived through Bhagwan, and now physically he's not available, how do you remain connected? And how do you understand that Swami is around you? Because people have that impression that you all were talking to him every day of your life before. So just give them that perspective And please tell us, like, how do you remain connected, that faith, that confidence of living life, carrying Bhagwan now, especially after his physical departure?
Yeah, so there is this small
Anybody can
incident.
start. Yes, Vara, please start.
This small incident happened, might be last year, when during the sports meet, I was chatting with my friends on WhatsApp, watching the sports meet live, and they said, like, we were so lucky, Swami. I mean, we could present our sports meet functions and all live to Swami when Swami used to be there, and we used to show our talents to Swami. We were so lucky, and I really imagine how these boys, when Swami is physically not there, how they must be feeling. And you know what happened? That particular sports meet, there was a bunch of balloons which were left into the air, and one particular orange color or a red color balloon just separated away from the bunch of balloons, and it just floated all around the Shanti Vedika into the this one, away from the wind. So a red color balloon, you know, floating all along the devotees and this one. That shows that Swami was there. And then my friend from there, messaged back. You were just saying that, Swami's physical presence, we used to present talent. Now see, he has shown that he's physically present there. He might not be physically present, but he's watching from above. That orange color balloon is is a sign that he's still there, and that is what keeps the children who are still there motivated, that even though Swami is physically not there, they know that he's still watching over them, and he might not be visible to them, but they are definitely visible to to him, definitely.
Raghu.
Okay, I would like to add here.
Please.
Sure.
Yes,
please.
Yes, since so I passed out from Thomas Institute in 1995, and then I've been, physically we have been distant. I've been distant from Swami for a long time then, and meanwhile, during my career, I've been having a lot of problems. So whenever I had a problem, I was used to, mentally connecting to Swami and stating my problem, and I didn't even have to wait for an answer. Eventually the problem would just vanish. So I just got so used to that pattern of communicating with Swami. So even his physical absence did not make much of a difference, because I was already communicating like that right from a long time ago. So even today I have a problem, I just state that problem mentally to Swami. I don't even wait for an answer, and the things get sorted out automatically.
Okay. Nice. Yes, Raghu, you're saying something. Carry on.
A small incident I would like to recollect. This happened about 2 years back. We earlier alluded to the 31st December. We present a program in Parthi. Okay. In the last week of December, I suddenly developed an infection of the nerve in the ear. I think Vara is a doctor, will understand. And that nerve, affects the balance. I couldn't stand. I had a severe vertigo. It came, the vertigo was so bad that I couldn't walk. I would tend to fall down, and my wife had to hold me from the bed to the washroom. It was that bad. And I was participating in a drama that the primary school people were putting up in front of Swami. Okay. So I was feeling so bad that I might have to miss this program. I told my wife, look, come what may, I will participate in that program. She scolded me, saying you're supposed to stand up on the stage and deliver dialogues, and if you're unwell, and you will end up spoiling everyone's program. Okay. So I said, okay, fine. I had to call this sister who was coordinating, and I messaged her or something, and she didn't pick up the phone. I was so tired that I slept. Okay. But I was feeling very bad that I'm missing the program. I'm missing the chance to act in a drama in front of it. After 1 or 2 hours, I got up. I was perfectly normal. No weakness, no vertigo, nothing. I participated in this. Was on 26th or 27th of December. 31st, I participated and did my role very well. Such a rapid recovery. How only Swami can do that. 2 years back.
Brilliant. Amitabh.
Okay, for me, three things, right? For me, um, Swami specifically, personally mentioned to me so many times, is maintaining silence, right? And with there's so much of noise around the world, especially these days, I think that silence has really helped in terms of you listening to Swami, and I think Swami has also mentioned at one point in time, if you are silent, I can also listen to your prayers as well. So that was number one, which has really stuck to me. The second one is Swami has made it very clear to us, right? In the entire world, people go and search for happiness and really think of fulfillment. And what Swami has told us personally is happiness is union with God, right? And you can never get happiness from this world, right? And so that's we know that as a reality. And the third one is which is very very strong and which is echoing Vikram's brother Vikram's thoughts is Swami told us once, you think of me and I think of your problems. Okay, you think of me and I think of your problems. That's been a massive message which is in my heart, and that sort of removes all fear. And like brother Raghu mentioned about the Jyoti meditation training, what we were given right in primary school, it's just now all those seeds are just ripening, and right, and all those stories about mental health and all those things which we hear, I'm not sure people from primary school would really have any problems with that, right? The foundation is very, very, very strong.
Yeah.
Yes, Swara. Final
Yeah.
words.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Swami taught us, he always tells, why fear when I'm here? Okay. And secondly, another thing he says is, samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. These two have, as a doctor, as a surgeon, these two have a big impact on me. Why fear when I'm here? Even now, when I'm operating, Swami is there in my mind always. The fear of the surgeries or doing a surgery is gone because I know he's watching over me. Secondly, is he said samasta loka, pray, samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. If you notice, he said, don't pray for yourself. You pray for others, and ultimately you benefit. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. So the prayer which I say in the morning is, I want everybody else to be happy. And in the night when I come back, I know that I am happy. I know the world is happy, but I prayed for them and I am happy because they are happy. So these two things have a big impact on my life in a day-to-day basis, which I learned from Swami himself. Why fear when I am here? Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Ya samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Pray for others and you will be happy.
Beautiful. Brothers, thank you very
Abhi,
much.
I just remembered one thing very, very pertinent. And
Okay.
you are involved in this. Some months back, I was very stressed one particular day. There was some developments in my professional career, and that evening I got into the car and normally I listen to some music. I don't know why when I opened the browser, it took me to a Radio Sai channel, and that day you had narrated an instance, of how Swami is sitting in Kodai. When some boy spoke to him of some professional issues, Swami, narrated to the mountains and hills and said, so look at those mountains, the faraway trees, there are birds and insects. Who feeds them? I feed them. If I can feed them, why can't I take care of you? Okay. And that evening, that incident narrated by you popped up on my phone, and it calmed me down, saying, why worry when Swami is there? So till date, if there is a concern in the heart, we get a reply from Bhagwan. So
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
I know
Wonderful.
this stories about Bhagwan will never end. We can go on and on. Each one of you can narrate it for a whole night, and we'll never be tired to listen. But unfortunately, I must maintain the timings. So I can only thank Bhagwan. I am offering my gratitude to Bhagwan for giving us these beautiful opportunities to relive those moments and share it with the devotees. I'm sure everybody who's listening to them are enjoying it and they are reliving the same thing with us. So I'm grateful to you all for taking time out and joining me in this. And I really, really thank you all very much. So Sai Ram, I have
Sai
no
Ram.
other words to
Sai Ram.
express my
Sai Ram.
gratitude to all of you.
Very, very grateful to Swami and
Ram.
everyone.
We are honored.
Sorry.
Actually, we are very grateful to spread his word.
Sorry. I just missed the step. So thank you very much. And I thank everybody who had joined us, to viewers who have listened to this program. And I welcome your comments, your suggestions for improving this offerings better and better. So thank you very much all. Sai Ram.
Thank you, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.